When we're dealing with our lambs from 2 to 4 or 5 weeks old, we actually make observations about how much bare area of skin is around their tail. We like to see scores of 1 or 2, because any more than score 3 leads to problems later on, because they get feces around their tail much more early. And so in moving towards non-mulesing of sheep years ago, we knew that we needed to be in the area of score 1 and 2 sheep. We've recorded, I think it's 11 seasons of data for all of our lambs born here as to how much breech cover they have, which could give us as many as 5 or 6 generations of data. And it helps us to select the animals that we need to breed to go into the future with confidence, and to be able to say to our clients, we don't need a mules, you don't need a mules. And a number of them now have given up in following us along that pathway. We also need to record things like the amount of breech, wrinkle at the time, because that too determines how dirty an animal is likely to get during its lifetime. We want to be in this area here, and almost exclusively our sheep are in this area of 1s and 2s. We cannot keep a sheep with 4 or 5 score, and probably wouldn't keep a 3 score.
So are most of them now in this 1 and 2 now?
Almost all of our sheep, I would say 99% of our sheep are in the 1 and 2s. And that makes management and sheep husbandry much easier. We can crutch just once a year. With our grown sheep that are on a 12-month shearing cycle, we crutch about 7 months after shearing. And because we've got these bare areas around the tail and small number of wrinkles, and for years we've chosen low dags on the sheep, which is a genetic tendency as well, we can confidently crutch our sheep at 7 to 8 months after shearing, and then we've only got 4 to 5 months until the next shearing.
So just explain to people what crutching is.
Crutching is where you use a shearing handpiece and go round the tail to clear off all of the wool back to skin level. It keeps the animal clean for longer and enables them to have a hugely reduced incidence of breech strike, because dags don't collect and urine doesn't get in the wool, and those two things attract blowflies. So
it's like a mini shearing.
It's a localised shearing around the tail area, yes, absolutely.
Yep. And dags are?
Dags are faeces that have collected on the wool near the tail, and ideally you want to find a sheep with none or very low incidence of dags. So we've been dag scoring our young sheep whenever we're crutching them after weaning. And we like to find sheep in the 1 and no more than 2 category. Mm-hmm. We have a very hard think about whether or not we even keep a sheep with a score 3, and we don't even discuss whether or not to keep a sheep with a score 4 or 5. Yeah. They leave the property. They're not used for breeding. And that's also another animal husbandry thing. It saves them getting fly-blown if we keep low dags and keep crutching.
Yep.
So we try and breed sheep with a bare enough skin area that they stay clean, but we do crutch with a shearing handpiece to keep the wool around that even shorter. So there's no scar there. We haven't mulesed that sheep. I didn't utilise the mulesing shears at all. I think it's now 2 years.
2 years without a single mule?
2 years without using it for any purpose at all.
But you haven't been mulesing since?
I haven't been mulesing this part for 8 or 9 years, but I had been taking a bit of skin off at the tail to make management easier, but I've given that bit away now too. I haven't surgically mulesed in 2019 or 2020 at all.
Oh. So this is a relic from the museum section of the shearing shed. What are these?
This is a set of mulesing shears. We haven't used them for any of the lambs born in 2019 or 2020, and we've made the decision that we will not use them again. We know that there are better ways to do things, and that way is through genetics. there's enough scientific evidence out now to show that sheep can be just as, if not more productive, if they are bred to not have the sort of body wrinkle that caused sheep farmers to feel that they needed to use mulesing.
So this bit might be a bit graphic. How do you mule a sheep?
You draw any excess skin out with finger and thumb and you snip it off.
Cut through. And then what do you do to the sheep?
Oh, then I apply pain relief and fly strike powder immediately.
Yeah.
Used to.
Used to. Yeah. And how long did it take the sheep to get better?
If you were back in decades ago, it would usually take between 3 and 5 weeks to heal, but now we don't have any time at all because we don't do it. So instead of sheep losing weight and sulking and feeling miserable for 3 to 5 weeks, and every time they move stretch a scar on the back of their legs, it doesn't happen anymore, so they leave the yards and they are fit and healthy immediately.
How old were sheep when you mulesed?
Usually in that 3 to 6 weeks age period.
Oh, so quite young.
Quite young.
Yeah.
And once in a lifetime, not once a year.
Yeah. So these are just like like old-fashioned shearing shears, like in the background here.
They're a little like the old-fashioned blades, but they do have a bend in them and they're smaller.
Yeah.
And they don't meet at the tip.
Yep. The year you stopped mulesing?
We noticed an immediate change in weights of animals. There was no weight loss on an animal that we didn't mulese at all, whereas there was weight loss and took a long time to regain a weight gain process from a sheep that had been mulesed. So we found a huge productivity increase by giving mulesing away.
Oh, so the lambs weren't spending all their energy recovering.
Yes, they weren't healing, they weren't in a state of discomfort, they weren't dealing with pain.
And they could get on with growing.
Exactly.